We all know that locomotion and animal movements are fun and build agility, but can they get you strong? You betcha. So to take this lateral monkey crawl as an example, it's obvious that we've got some good things going on here. We have hip mobility, we have rotation across the core, we're coordinating the arms and legs. That's all good. But how do we turn this into more of a strength challenge? My answer is stalls. Now, a stall is basically where we're performing a movement, but we pause midpoint in between. Simple enough, right? But this is actually where we get the most messages from our clients saying they just can't do the moves. And of course they can at first because it's hard. So here's the advice we give to our clients when they're trying to go from the standard locomotion movements to a stalled variation. Get really, really good at the basic variation. First off, let's take a look at the monkey, what's going on. We're gonna start off in the deepest squat that we can perform. We're gonna place our hands off to the side. We're gonna load our arms, and you'll notice that my heels came off the floor. The arms are locked out. I'm pushing down and away from the floor, and I'm going to hop to the opposite side. Now, in order to even begin thinking about stalls, we first need to get really, really good at performing this movement. And the way we're gonna do that is slow it way down. So starting off in our squat here, placing our hands on the ground, we're gonna load the side. And rather than hop, we're gonna try and pull our feet across. Now, what happens when I do that is that because I'm fully loaded to the front, I'm strengthening my arms. I'm pushing away from the ground. So I'm also working on improving my scapular strength as well as my mobility in my scaps. I'm working on strengthening my core. Everything is happening and working together and allowing me to get stronger, which is eventually going to lead towards me being able to start working on the stalls. And it all is a matter of slowing things down. Doing this slowly, gradually being able to pull the feet across slowly, slowly. Like I mentioned earlier, strengthening that core, working on that strain on my strength, making sure that I'm focusing on the basic movement and getting really, really good at performing it. Now it's just a matter of getting in tons of quality repetitions of this movement, slowing things down, making sure I'm focused on pushing down and away from the ground, pulling my hips across rather than jumping across. I'm not letting myself sink into the floor. I'm always actively pushing down and away from the floor, eventually getting to the point where my feet can start to float off of the ground. I'm tucking my body up. And by getting in tons and tons of volume here, I'm getting so good at performing this that, oh my goodness, I found myself start to stall there because I have the necessary strength in my core, in my arms, in my scaps. I'm pushing away from the ground, performing the straight arm movement in a way and holding it where I know I can do it because I built up the confidence as well to be able to practice it. Thing is, if you just try and do a stall and you don't have the strength, you could fall forward, laying on your face, okay? We don't want that. So this is why it's so important to focus on the basic movements. Get really, really good at doing those as slow as possible, and you'll be building the necessary strength, flexibility, as well as control to eventually get you to the point where you can start practicing the stall. So next up, we can take a look at the Frogger stall. Now, I love this, and there's so much going on in here. And when you see it, you might realize, oh my goodness, Ryan, when you do that, it's kind of like you're doing like a planche or something, right? Yep, exactly. I'm not saying that by just doing the Frogger stall, you're going to get the planche. But by going back and looking at the basics of the Frogger and doing the same thing that we did with the monkey, getting really good at the basics, putting in a lot of volume, making sure that we're focused on the things that we need to focus on in order to get stronger, improve our mobility as well as control, we're eventually going to get to the point where we can start practicing stalls and lead towards being able to work on things like the planche. So let's break it down. We have the Frogger. We start off in this squat position, bringing our hands forward. We load our shoulders over our hands. putting us in this floating tabletop position. We push down and through the floor, rotating our elbow pits so that they're facing forward. And this position is what we're after. We get the position down so that we can further load and then work on slowly pulling our feet forward into the squat. That's the basic movement. Get really good at that. Be able to perform this so slowly that it really is difficult to even talk when you're trying to shoot a tutorial for YouTube. And so the thing is, again, bringing so much focus to what you're doing and try and make it as beautiful as possible at a level that's going to be good for you when you're doing that. It's the basics, getting really good at those. This is gradually going to end up getting you to the point where you can start to stall out. And you might notice that I didn't even have my knees on my arms. They were floating, just like we did with the monkey. That floating position will happen with practice. You'll gain that confidence because you'll have the strength. You'll have the necessary range of motion, and more importantly, the control to be able to keep that position as long as you focus on doing the basic one, loading, pulling, and bring awareness to that each and every time. All right, so there you have it. Using the basics to be able to work on stalling with the monkey, the basic Frogger. That's going to lead to being able to do other fun positions later down the road. The thing is though, remember, it's all about working on the basics. This is exactly what we do, is take you step by step with each of these movements in our Elements program. Be sure to check it out.